Just make as much noise as you possibly can over there, Mike.
Yep.
Get you in the center frame here. Where are you putting the cans?
Right here.
Okay.
We need to go through the what are those little critters?
Mogwais.
Yes, those guys, yeah.
Gremlins.
Gremlins, yes.
You ready? Here we go.
And now for something special. The unit is self-contained with its own saddler, farrier, wheelwright and so on. It's a rigorous training, dished out who know all there is to know about horses, and it brings results.
We take you behind the scenes now to show just some of the interesting aspects of this training.
Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, the award-winning #1 podcast to create sounder horses from the ground up. Mike Stine is a registered journeyman farrier with an APF1 accreditation. On this week's show, Talking Terminology, we're going to talk about what it means about the horse's stride. Also, we're going to discuss the relationship of horse's stride length as to body size, and also a case study with x-rays included of a horse named Gizmo. All this and much, much more we discuss here on Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. And over to my far right side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. Much better than last week. How are you?
I'm doing well. No, you were fine last week.
I was a little off key.
Well, we had a guest last week.
We did. And I was scared of the guest.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. You get a little nervous. You get a little clammed up when we have a guest.
I've nervous disorder.
You are socially inept.
Yes. And
all right. And don't forget, Mike, this is episode 11, so there's only 2 more shows left of season 9. So just to let all our listeners out there know that this is season 11, or it's season 9, episode 11. We do 12 episodes a season, and then we take 2 weeks off, gather our thoughts, and set up a whole lineup for season 10. Guests, live appearances, and stuff like that. So just if you don't hear us for a couple weeks, I'll remind you one more time that you can go out there and get caught up on all the past seasons and stuff, and listen to all the guests that we've been talking about. Oh, they talked about this person. Here's the episode with that person, and so on and so forth. Mike, how are you? Outside of being a little bit more peppier today, are you doing okay?
I'm doing okay. You know, the heat's been a little tough.
I know. I mean, it's bottles and bottles of water is all I can say.
You know, and busy.
Oh, good. Now, my wife went to a clinic the other day, and I say a clinic, it was more of like a lessonier, you know, a smaller version of an actual lesson that she goes to.
A lessonier.
And it's out at the place where we have Diego.
Where's that?
That is out at In Town Farms.
Yeah, but it's out of town. It's not in town.
Well, I know, but it's in town if you're in the town of the place where the horse is at. Who's on first?
Exactly.
So she went to this clinic. Now, you know, Brett Ingram is a normal trainer. And
yeah, normal.
Well, I say no. He's normal. her regular trainer.
Regular trainer. Yeah. Okay, there we go. That sounds better.
Brett,
not normal.
if you've ever met Brett, he's a character in himself. We love him here on the show. We've had him here on the show. He's a character in itself. But she wanted to take a lesson with this other trainer. So this trainer come out, female lady. Do you remember what my wife told me the name? I don't know her. What was the young lady's name?
Ashley.
And Ashley came out, and my wife took like a miniature lesson with her, and she's riding Diego around on the under the arena and so.
Or like a miniature horse or anything.
No.
Because he's not a miniature horse.
No, he's a big horse. So she's riding Diego around, and she comes home, and I always ask her, I say, you know, how was the lesson, or how was the clinic? Because I don't want you girls out there, you know, chit-chatting and stuff. I want you to learn something. You're doing these clinics to learn something. And my wife is all business when it comes to horses, so I'm just tease her about that. She's like, I really opened my eyes up a little bit. I said, well, what did you mean by opening your eyes? She's like, you know, Brett, I've worked with Brett for so long, and his dialogue, I know exactly what he's saying. I know exactly what he's trying to get out of me, but my body, for sometimes, you know, that's part of doing the lesson. It's part of training. It's part of the workout. Sometimes my body does not react or does not want to do what he's asking me to do, and I get frustrated.
Right.
And so, you know, she'll come home. How was your lesson? It was okay. I couldn't do this. I couldn't do that. Now, Ashley comes out, and let me turn this off.
My phone, there's a thing called airplane mode.
Okay.
Have you not figured that out yet?
I figured that out. So Ashley comes out, and kind of works with my wife in the same direction that Brett is going in. You know, the same, not changing
Going to the left.
Yeah, going to the left, going in circles and
Right.
all that. But her dialogue, as she's, her commands and stuff towards my wife, Amy, she was like, that makes sense. And, that makes sense. Now I understand what Brett was trying to get me to do. And the only thing that my wife said, I said, well, what made you make this decision? She was like, the only way I can explain it is you have Brett out there, and Brett is a guy, and he's speaking in, I don't want to say guy terms, he's speaking in horse terms towards the rider.
Right.
The Ashley who comes out, she's speaking horse terms and to the rider, but also as a female, knowing that the female body can only do certain things. No, you need to make your this do this, so this will happen. And so the dialogue with the female trainer, my wife was able to understand what Brett was saying in not so many words, but still get the same results. So I didn't know if you've ever had that experience when, we've had a lot of female farriers here on the program.
Right.
And when you tell me stories about going behind even male farriers or any farrier at all, male or female, and then you've worked side by side with female farriers. Have you noticed a difference as far as the approach and the way I don't want to say their not demeanor, but the way they approach problems and issues between male and female farriers?
Actually, yes, there are some differences, and that's very random anyway, because
Right, everyone each to his own type deal.
Exactly, because if you get 50 farriers in here, we would have 50 different opinions, and nobody would agree with anybody, because that's what we do. But no, I think that some of the approach to the horse is, I think
For a female.
for the female, they probably pay a little bit more attention to the horse, and probably a little less likely to struggle with the horse than guys in a lot of ways. And the other end of it is, as far as like your shop work. Mm-hmm. And this is, I don't know if it's male or female. It's just attitude. Some of them are not as interested in the shop work, but some of the young guys aren't either. And some of the discussion we had earlier about, some of the frog support pads, assorted pad work, and that was our discussion, that you can have printed and all this sort of deal. We used to just make them. And now people are, well, I don't want to learn how to build and fabricate and all this kind of stuff. When I was coming along, if you wanted it, you built it. The very first frog supports we built from built all out of what we had.
So are you seeing more female farriers are light on the would you call it, the iron,
The shop skills.
the shop skills, and more leaning towards the 3D printed stuff, which I'm not 100% sold on that. In my experience, just being on this show, being the simpleton on this show, I'm still not, maybe a little bit sold on it, maybe like 10% sold on it. But I mean, the actual steel and iron and bending and forging and hot shoeing and doing all the other terminology that I've learned on this show. Are you seeing the female farriers taking, I don't want to say the easy route, but a more clinical route?
It's individual, because you remember, oh Lord, what was her name down there in Louisiana, who was competing with the guys and beating the guys years ago?
Oh, flipping the mule around, yeah.
Yeah, all that sort of deal. And it's a very individual thing. There are some women that have gotten very into the metalwork. Some of the shop skills, like learning to weld, learning to build, learning to fabricate, using shop equipment. Some of them don't want to, but some of the young guys don't want to either. And when Derek Papard was on here, we were talking about losing some of the skills, because there is so much out there pre-made, and daily there's some new product coming out. And when we had Michael Stewart talking about wooden clogs, well, the first wooden clogs were scraps off a construction site, and you were in a pinch and you had to do something.
I'm not saying that the female or male farriers are bad.
No.
And it was just a weird concept in my mind. When you think trainer, for example, you think trainer. You picture a trainer in your mind. 9 times out of 10, you think it's a male trainer. teaching male or female riders.
Well,
And then,
not so much.
Oh, really?
No, there are a lot of female trainers out there. There are probably I work for more female trainers than male trainers.
Do you really? Okay,
Yes.
so I stand corrected on that. But I guess where my wife was going is she's had Brett for so long, giving her these commands, which she completely understands. She knows exactly what he's trying to do. But then when she had this female trainer give her the same directions, but just the way she approached it, because she's a female, she knows what a female's body can do. She knows how to tell the female rider what to do with her body to get those actions to move. I guess it's the long and the short.
The thing of it is it's always good to get a different look at times. Sometimes you need to rethink things. I mean, I'm taking off to another clinic here for long as a learning deal that is, of people with many years as you've been going to workshops and clinics. Don't you think? Well, a lot of it is repeat, different angle, things change, and all that. And I know. Let's use my old buddy Billy. We have our chats pretty regular, and some of it comes down to, okay, what about this, and this? This is what somebody says needs to be done. Am I being an idiot? And he says, yes, you are. Yes, and I can prove it. But, it's always good to have somebody to bounce things off of. And, as farriers, I have a network of people that I have something that is a question, and I do at times, that I can bounce it off of, and vice versa. But, everybody's going to take a little different look and a little different approach, and that's what makes this whole thing interesting, because that's how you come up with some of the new innovations. And now for me, when you start looking at all these, the computer graphs and all that kind of stuff, I'm still drawing with a stick in the dirt. And
I've seen you do it too.
Right, yes. Still drawing with a stick in the dirt, because I was taught by old timers when I was young, and before cell phones, before all that sort of deal. And this is what you do, and this is how you figure it out, and this is what you do in the field. And you look and you listen and you feel and you're paying attention to the development of the horse. Now you take a video camera out there and you video camera and you use pressure pads and pressure plates and accelerometers and computer programs, and use thousands of dollars worth of stuff to figure out how to work on a horse.
I'm going to upgrade you just a little bit, Mike. I'm not going to do too big of a jump. I'm going to go from you drawing with a stick in the dirt to a dry erase board. You think you can handle that? If I bought you that for Christmas, just a dry erase board? Because a lot of the places you go to now, they're all concrete and stuff. There's no dirt anymore that you're drawing in the thing in.
Well, we have, just give me a piece of chalk.
Chalk, that'll do it. Maybe save me a couple dollars or two. Right. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about the actual horse strides and what it means when someone says the horse's strides. And we're going to talk terminology when we come back. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back.
Did I say bad stuff?
No, you didn't say bad stuff at all. It's just that I don't think I got out what I wanted you to say.
Okay.
I can pick out what I want. I want you to basically say no between, not you say. I want your honest opinion, but I do agree with you saying, female farriers are more likely to do this, male farriers are likely to do this, but then you say even the young guys don't want to do that either. So that was
right.
You're fine. You're fine. Everything's good. Everything's good. I'm committed, Mike. I'm committed.
And they let you out today.
They did. They let me out twice. All right, let me switch to camera 8 so we can get you all in here and get you all fuzzied up. You ready?
Right.
Get your cans ready. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, brought to you by Equine One. Protect, prevent, and maintain with your 100% hoof mender putty and 100% hoof dressing. All natural, no petroleum products in these items. So go get yours right now. Go to Equine.
Working the stride.
Go get yours right now over at equine.one and put podcast or Equine Dynamics for 10% off your order right now. And if you're watching this over on the YouTube channel, you can see Mike holding up these wonderful products. Very good, Mike. You can put them down now.
I can.
Yeah,
you can use that Equine One for as long as you want to for ordering. Yes, that.
You sure?
No.
Okay. So talking terminology, Mike, when we talk about the horse's stride, excuse me, when we talk about the horse's stride, now talking terminology is a section of the podcast where we do, when you hear stuff in the barn, people might say a certain term, people might say a certain phrase, and if you're not familiar with it, and instead of being shy or whatever, or just afraid to ask, you don't want to look like the dum-dum there, or just the ill-informed, especially like when your vets come in and they say your horse needs a something. We kind of define these terms, and this is called talking terminology. Now, we're going to talk about something that I feel is a plain and simple term to use, but what it actually means, I don't know. So when you talk about the horse's stride, Mike, what do we mean when we're talking about the horse's stride?
The stride, the step length, and you're talking about the full cycle of the stride, meaning every foot has gone through its movement pattern within the walk, trot, canter, or whatever it might be.
So 1, 2, 3, 4 would be a stride.
Right.
1, 2, 3, 4 would be another stride.
And if you're a gallop, the timing would be a little different.
Okay, so it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. How's that?
Well, it's a 4-beat.
Okay.
And a canter, I think, should be more 3-beat. But anyway, whatever beat.
So by definition, horse's stride, a full cycle of the movement of all four legs. Now, why are we talking about horse's stride, and why is it so important to understand what the horse's stride is?
Well, the whole thing started with a few articles that I've seen, and you need to understand what the horse's stride is when people start about stride length compared to body, whatever it may be. Looking for a horse with a big stride or we want a short stride for this type of work, depending on what you're hunting. And, people are always looking for a horse with a big stride, and you've got a horse this big. Is that truly a big stride or just a big horse?
Now, I told you that we watched a movie called Damsel, and the nearly married couple were traveling across the hillside. This is all set like in the medieval times. And the horses had their nose pulled down like they were riding, but the horse's nose was straight down. And I asked my wife, I said, are they riding correctly? And she's like, no, they need to have that. They need to open up. They need to have their head lifted so they can get that full stride.
Full stride, yes.
So if you've seen the movie, in that scene, it's like within the first 20 minutes of the movie, so you don't have to watch that whole horrible movie.
Breaking that back. Yeah. It was. Did your wife think it was horrible, or did you think it was horrible?
It was okay.
Okay.
It wasn't what we thought it was, but I mean, still. But if you want to, fast forward to where they get married and they're riding across the plains with horses, and you could see that their nose is completely straight down, and they're like galloping full steam, but it looked like they were like little short steps, like when your mom says "hurry up" and you gotta want to hurry up, and you shuffle your feet and stuff.
Right. That goes back to your head positioning and where a horse can lengthen up or not. And you got them broken back hard at the pole. That you got the stride choked down.
So is it better? I know you said you need a longer stride for certain positions and shorter strides for other positions or other events or other styles of riding. When we're talking about let's say the Derby, the horse racing community, do you want long strides or short strides? Because in my opinion, just from thinking about this in my mental brain, long strides on the straightaway, you want a short stride to make those tight turns. So is it better to have
a big sweep and turn?
Is it a big sweep and turn? Okay, so what about eventing horses? Eventing horses have to be...
There are times eventing horses are going to have to shorten their stride. There are times when you got a big long gallop and you're between obstacles, it's nice to have a big flowing stride. When you come into obstacles, they're probably going to need to be tightened up, especially if your course is really tight, as far as maneuvering. Now,
compared to we're getting ready to open up the Olympics. I think this Friday is the opening ceremonies over in Paris. And the way I look at it, and I just watched another documentary, me talking about movies and stuff. There was a documentary called Sprint. And it went over 3 different athletes running, doing a 100-meter dash and stuff like that. But there are hurdles. So a longer stride in an eventing horse, I would think, would be almost like having a 6'2" runner over the hurdles as to a 5'6" guy running over the hurdles. Because there's a leg, height that they have to get over the hurdle to... Are you following me?
Yeah, but what if you got a 15-hand horse versus a 16 two-hand horse? The same thing.
I don't know. And
what is the stride length in relationship to their body?
Can can a smaller horse have a longer stride than a taller horse with a shorter stride? Can that happen?
Sure.
All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about that because I'm going to dive in that story too when we come back. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Can that happen?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about that. Yeah, we'll talk about the.
We'll talk about it.
We'll talk about everything. You ready?
Yep.
Here comes your cans.
Okay. Cans
Welcome
are
back
ready.
to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, the #1 podcast to bring you sounder horses from the ground up. Equine Dynamics is brought to you by Equine One, an all-natural hoof dressing and all-natural hoof mender putty. All-natural hoof mender putty. Go get yours right now. Go to equine.one. Place your order and get 10% off your whole entire order. That's equine.one with the keyword podcast or keyword Equine Dynamics. You can use this in winter, snow, mud, dry, any kind of weather conditions. You can use these
in the
products.
desert, whatever. Yeah.
In the desert, yeah. Thanks, Mike. And over on my far right side is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Now, we started talking about the length of the stride, and can a short horse, a 15 two-hand horse or a 15-hand horse, have a longer stride than a 16 two-hand horse? And if they can, is that good or bad for each horse having either a longer stride or short stride?
Yes.
Yes to all of that.
Yes, sure.
All right, now explain it.
Well, I'll tell you, the whole thing got started. I saw a little thing pop up talking about Secretariat, and I got to thinking about that with our event horses, our dressage horses, whoever. But I have people all the time that they, like for your dressage ring, I want to buy a really big horse so it has a big stride. Okay. Then you're looking at horses. I've got a 15-hand horse that, let's say, when they're looking at strides, figuring strides on your jump course, they figure about 12 feet per stride. You look at Secretariat, opened up down the stretch at the Belmont. I think, what was he? I may be a little off on the numbers, 26, 28 feet, somewhere in that range, in a full stride. And that's, you think about that in one stride of a gallop, and you think about the size of your stall. Your stalls in your barn are rough 12 by 12s.
Right.
Okay. So he's more than covered two of those in one cycle of a stride.
And how tall of a horse was he? He was over 16.
He was over 16
Okay.
hands. I don't think he was 17, but I may be off base on that. But that's a big long stride, and you got another horse coming through that's 16 hands ish. That's got a 12-foot stride.
So that horse right there would be doing
14 stride.
Would be doing double the movement, double the
movement
stride.
Right. Okay. I have people that when they're looking at horses, I want a 17-hand horse for a big stride. And you come into a few things on that with horse size. If you got a really big horse with a really big barrel and where your legs hit, and you want the horse to lift up and pick through, pick its body through it. If you've got, if you can reach around him and lift him, or are you hitting high enough on him, you're pushing him down, that's going to affect the stride on its own. And if I've got a horse, just for say, that has 15 hands tall, and when he's really stretched out, he does have at a trot. Let's say he's got a 12-foot stride at a trot, and somebody wants a big horse, so they have a big stride, and they're real happy because they have a big stride. And you got a 17.3 behemoth that's got a 12.5-foot stride. They say, "Oh my God, look at him! He's got a big stride." Does he truly have a big stride in relationship to his body?
Do you remember the fridge Perry? What's his name? The football
refrigerator. Yes.
Yeah, he was 7'2", and Manute Bol, who plays basketball, was 7'7".
Right.
The 7'2" guy did not have anywhere near the length of even like Shaquille O'Neal. Shaquille O'Neal being 7'2", let's put apples to apples, has a longer stride than the refrigerator did because of just that massive barrel that he had on him.
Right, but you don't want to get in the way of the refrigerator.
Well,
you did not.
I spend too much time standing in front of the refrigerator.
Well, yes, and it shows. I did not say that. But no, if you could take, and now we've got technology, you don't have to. You could actually, take your picture, draw the angles of your line on the ground, scratch in your dirt, those lines straight up and see where they cross, and go get a protractor and measure that angle. And how big is that angle for the body size of that horse? If I've got the horse, like Secretariat was stretched, when he was stretched out, the angle between his front and hind legs when he was full stretch was like 110 degrees. And
Which is almost flat.
he's getting on down the road in a hurry. And I don't think anybody can dispute his athletic ability. But then you got your 17.2, 17.3 behemoth that say when he opens up, it's, he's got a whatever size stride, whatever that angle, let's say it's 48 degrees. And then you got your short horse that has just a slightly shorter stride, and you measure that angle and you're at
60 something.
So who truly has the bigger stride in that situation? Is stride length in comparison to body size.
So the one that had the 48 degree is working harder to maintain speed than the one with the 60 degree stride.
Right, and he's not really opening his shoulder up. He doesn't have the rotation in his shoulder. He doesn't have as much movement in his hips.
Now, can you improve the stride of a horse? I mean, if you get a horse and it is a 48 degree stride, is there a way to improve, like to stretch that stride out? How do you stretch that stride out to match the horse?
Well, here's the other question. Which one of those horses is going to have lameness problems the quickest?
I don't know.
Which one's pounding the ground the hardest?
The 48 degree one.
Yeah, no kidding. And yes, with any horse that I'm working on, that's one thing that I'm looking at. And as far as the mechanics and what you're doing with breakover and where you're putting support and all that, is you're talking about the whole thing with farriers. It's individual to the horse, and it's the understanding of that. And so that's gonna change per horse to certain degrees. When you're dealing with these really large horses in comparison to your 15 hand horse, there are some things in there that will be different on your big school bus size horses.
Now, what's a good exercise to lengthen the stride of a horse? I know we talk about, Richard Malgrim with the lead line, and doing the round pen stuff and doing the stretches and stuff, holding the carrot behind the horse's back leg to stretch the body out and stuff.
Right.
What's a good exercise to actually improve the length stride of a horse if it's too small?
Well, I know that back years ago,
Roping a crank.
exactly. But no, when I was coming along during the days that I rode, you did hill trotting. And
up and down hills?
Up and down hills, but, not so much trotting downhill, but when you're going up hills, you engage them to push forward, because the stronger the back end, that's where your real length comes from. And the whole thing with Richard trying to get the horse's back up and strong. If a horse is inverted, the back's locked up, the shoulders are locked up, you're going to have a limited stride. So it all goes back to is the body up and the back end under, or is it dropped and tight? So the freer you can get your horse's body, the easier it can extend out.
So what you're saying is, if the motor in the back had more push, it's kind of like doing a long jump every 2 seconds or whatever, 3 seconds, whatever that length is between the stride.
Exactly. And then the question is, let's go into the tack. Is the tack allowing the horse to move? Is the tack allowing the horse to lift up?
Are you talking about like physically the saddle and everything else?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, if you got a saddle that is biting them when they will go to lift and go to to really drive hard and engage, it's more comfortable not to. Mm-hmm. And then you throw the rider in there, and then you throw the rider's hands in there. And what else do you want to put into the program?
Sunset.
The sunset. They want to go off and ride off into the sunset.
Air temperature and all that other stuff.
Right. So there are a lot of variables involved. Now, myself as a farrier, when I look at how I'm prepping the foot, have I got that foot working with that bone column as best I can for what I'm given that day to work with? And if it is a horse that I am shoeing, what am I doing when I'm prepping my shoes? Now, I forge everything, and, there's a lot I can do in the forge. Now, people are becoming less and less reliant on it because there's so much made. But I can tweak lever points anywhere I want to on the shoe. I can broaden out a branch if the horse needs a lateral support. I can narrow a branch. I can, even go into the back of the truck, clean it up on the grinder. If I need to lighten the shoe on one side, I can go into the back of the shoe with the top of that multi-tool belt and cut out. If I want it a little heavier over here and lighten it up here, I can alter where the weight is in the shoe a little bit, in just a matter of seconds. And it's understanding the whys and the wheres of it. And
that would help a little bit to increase.
It can, where the load is in flight can increase, and we're talking about just fractions of an ounce.
I'm surprised we haven't put wings on the horse's feet yet. Just kind of
well, that could be
cut through the air, and,
right? I'm not shoeing gated horses and not hanging big weights on them or anything like that. But with different riders, it is very different. You got to shoe around that horse and that rider combination.
All right, guys, stick around. When we come back, we're going to talk about a case study of Gizmo. And if you're not watching us on YouTube, now's the chance to go over there right now because we have a whole bunch of different x-rays and stuff of Gizmo. And we're going to talk about his feet when we come back. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. We start here.
Let's see. Let's roll back through them. Right hind, left front, right front,
left hind.
Left hind.
Left front.
Left front. Let's start at the left front.
Okay. We can
then go to those navicular views.
Okay, we can do that. You ready?
Yep.
Get your thing ready. Your sauce.
I'm trying to get my hands where you can see the sauce labels.
There you go. That's a good one. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, brought to you by Equine One, all-natural hoof dressing and all-natural hoof mender putty. Go get yours right now at equine.one and get 10% off your whole entire order. That's equine.one and put the keyword podcast. And also, you can put in Equine Dynamics if you forget to do that and get 10% off your whole entire order. Protect, prevent, and maintain 100% natural, farrier recommended, and also veterinarian health product approved by the VHP. No petroleum products in this product at all.
Right, for a stronger, healthier hoof.
Use year-round, no matter what condition. Equine
you
One.
had to get the last word in, didn't you?
Sorry. I can cut that out.
No, you're good.
And over to my far hand side, getting the last word in is Mike Stine. How are you?
I'm doing good, Travis. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Now, if you're not on YouTube, now don't forget, every podcast that we do here on Equine Dynamics, we have a matching video. If we have people here in the studio, you're going to see those on the YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe over there as well. We also have a whole bunch of little bite-sized pieces that you can take if you don't have time to sit there and watch the whole entire podcast. We kind of took out like little best sections, little information sections, and you can see those are about a minute long, minute and a half long. So make sure you check those out as well. And you can share them and post them and save them and do all that stuff. We'd love for you to be part of the show. And the way you can do that is go to equinedynamics.com and hit the little section that says contacts. If you have a question for Mike Stine, put your question in there and we'll send you a little prize pack for being part of the show. Now, this is season 9, episode 11. We've got one more episode left, and we will have a special guest here in the studio. So make sure if you're not watching this or you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe by next week, and you can see our very special guest here in the studio that will be with us on next week's show. All right, Mike, so we're going to talk about a horse named Gizmo. Now, we have x-rays here. Let me switch.
How is Gizmo?
Gizmo is okay. Just don't feed him after midnight.
That's right.
So here we go. This is Gizmo.
It is Gizmo, and there's a whole interesting backstory on Gizmo.
Okay, so we're looking at this x-ray right here. It looks like you took a picture of the picture. I can see you in the background there, Mike.
I did not take a picture of the picture. Someone else took a picture of the picture, and that is not me.
And this is the left front. that we're looking at here.
This is the left front.
Looks perfectly fine to me.
Does it?
Yes, it looks perfectly normal. The coffin bone is 2 degrees this way. This bone here,
the alignment between this pastern and
the short pastern and the long pastern
is slightly broken back.
Okay.
Then you have a slight broken back into the coffin joint itself.
Okay.
And you have a relatively low, maybe slightly positive, very slightly positive palmar angle.
See, this is why I'm not the
And
farrier.
if you drop a line from the fetlock to the ground,
where's the fetlock? Right here?
right there, if you drop that line, that whole hoof base of support is out front of that, correct?
It barely cuts us the heel.
Right. So if you're building a building and you put the foundation to the side, what would the building do? It would fall over, correct?
It looked like that building in Italy.
It would. And so what is that doing to your flexor tendon pressure just because of that positioning forward from the bone column? It's adding a lot of pressure on the flexor that goes across the navicular. It comes down, goes under the navicular bursa and attaches to the bottom of the coffin bone.
Okay.
Now, this horse, one of my customers ended up with him because very nice horse, beautiful. And he had been up for sale. These were left over from a vet check.
Sold as a working horse or a pasture horse?
A working horse.
Okay.
And so they had priced him at a price that was, the price of a truck. Relatively decent truck, not like yours.
No.
Take all the chrome off the rubber floor mats in there, and there you go.
Right.
So anyway, at those kind of price tags, people are going to start getting pretty picky, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we've got this on the low side, and it's not just the low side, it's the whole base forward of the bone column. And, there's horses with that kind of alignment that are plenty happy, that never have too much of a problem. But this was in question. Now, as far as him, when I saw him the first time, we moved him out. He looks pretty good. I'm like, okay, he is not symptomatic of what the problem was on the sale. They were questioning his navicular issues. Okay. Another problem. Okay, there's your right hind.
It's the right hind.
Mm-hmm. Is it a little heavier than it ought to be on the front end? Yes. But there again, look at that alignment. Look at that coffin joint. Okay.
I can tell this one's really down.
Broken back, correct? And a lot of times that is not looked at as much as should be. And look at that really low palmar angle. I mean, we could start, depending on things, it could start leaning towards, wouldn't take much for it to be called headed negative. Now, problem worried about is the navicular in the front end, right?
Right.
Okay, we've been talking about getting the hind end under the horse the whole time, right?
Yes.
Okay, looking at that left hind, you remember your deep flexor attaches on the bottom of that coffin bone. You have pulled it down to a low palmar angle, broken that joint backwards, which a couple things. It pushes the support base forward of where the foot is. And also due to that low palmar angle, you add pressure to your flexor tendon. Now the flexor tendon goes over the back of the hock. The hock and the stifle cannot flex independent of each other, correct?
Yes.
We've been through this how many times?
I don't know. I lose track.
Too many. So you don't need me here for this. You can just run through it.
I need a dry erase board.
Exactly. So if that's the case, that pressure being created from that low palmar angle to the hock drives the hock forward, meaning straighten it out. The hock and stifle cannot flex independent of each other. That pushes the stifle joint straighter, pushes the pelvis out the back. When you look at that horse in the lower back, he has lack of development, which he has not been rolling the pelvis under his body. Okay. We're questioning navicular problems. Okay. If we're not pushing the pelvis under the body, we're hitting hard on the front end, correct?
Yes.
Falling, just crashing onto it. So then the question has been, as far as the sale was navicular issues. And we can go to the next deal. Now there's a navicular shot.
Okay, this is from up underneath.
Up underneath, yes, or from the top down. Plates under him.
Okay.
And I know from out at Doc Redden's, if you take a navicular bone on its own, and depending on what that alignment is, if you bring it down, bring it up, tweak it this way, you can get a little bit of different. There are blood channels that go through the bone.
Ooh.
They better be, because, the bone has to have a blood supply.
Okay.
And so you have circulation that goes into the bone. And if you tilt that bone this way, at slight intervals, you can get a different view on where those channels go in. And we look at X-rays, and they look for lollipops. Also, as that navicular bone thinned out, and how much is that? When you're looking from the bottom, how much is dirt on the foot, and how much deterioration do you have on the ends of the coffin bone where it attaches, or the navicular bone, where it attaches to the ligaments. And most any horse with past 10 years old, you're going to show some changes radiographically. They're always changing.
Now, how old is this horse? Do you know how old is Gizmo?
He is a matured horse.
15 to 20 or 10 to 15?
I think he is closer to 8 to 10.
Oh, okay, so that young. Okay.
Right. And I've worked on horses that have had really, really ugly navicular bones that were never able to be sold, but they had working careers and were retired of old age and never took a lame step.
So my question for you on this horse right here, you said this is the cost of a regular sized truck. Let's say it's a used truck. So let's say it's $25,000. Let's say the horse costs, they're asking $25,000 for this horse. As the owner and you are looking at these x-rays, it's kind of like when you're looking at an actual used truck, you're like going, the shocks are shot on that. I'm going to have to take $1,000 off of that. Are they literally going around the horse and go, okay, we're going to take $1,000 off for the navicular bone. We're going to take, $1,500 off for the short and long pasture not being lined up.
Right.
Are they literally doing that to the horse as you're looking as you're looking at these x-rays?
Yes.
Okay, so that does happen.
Right. And you're asking the vet to do their job, and the vet is doing what they're asked to do.
Now, go ahead.
Right. And looking at the joint spacing, and
so this is the left front, but is this from the rear? This is from the rear or the front?
That would be the generator would be set out front, shooting towards the back.
Okay, so this is the left front again.
Right. But
the front of the left front.
The front of the left front, or you're seeing it from the back because that's where the plate is.
Right.
So, we're looking at that, and you're looking at the edges of the coffin bone, and we're looking at the joint alignment, and you can see some of the navicular bone in there. And, if you tweak that a little bit.
It looks like it's tipping to the left-hand side. Am I seeing that right?
Yeah, you're seeing that.
Okay.
You're seeing that. And look at the shoe placement where the shoe is. And the distance on your coffin bone to the shoe. And yes, there's a slight imbalance on that. Look at the formation of the joints. And then, the joint space in there is pretty consistent. So is that something that can be taken care of with a trim, with a little bit of a diagonal unload? Easy enough. And, okay, there's your right hind. There again, low palmar angle. So the question is, does this horse have navicular issues or not? And can this be a good working horse? And to me, mechanically, from my point of view, I'm not going to say that is a spotless X-ray. That's not my job. Mm-hmm. But what I am going to say is there's been some stuff as much or more in the back end of the horse neglected than the front. And if you cannot get that back together, as long as that shoulder's locked, they will continually try to press down that front foot to a low PA, which shifts it out forward, which puts pressure on your flexor tendon across your navicular bursa.
It would almost be like, is it the horse crawling or pulling
He's
itself.
dragging himself forward because
Right.
he can't engage the back end and get it under it. Now, if you can get the back end under it and you can get that back strong where he can lift and come back, and that's done consistently for a year, and we do x-rays on the horse, that could be a totally different creature.
It's sad that I knew that, but when I said that, as soon as I said, I go, God, I think I'm making sense. When you're talking
Never
about
do that again.
the crawling, I know I'm taking over your job, Mike. Pretty soon it'll just be Equine Dynamics with Trav.
Well, I mean, hey, you are prettier than I am.
Thanks. But yeah, I mean, so when it was all said and done, I mean, did the person purchase this horse at the asking price, or did the person purchase the
one
horse?
of my clients brought him home, and
Like test drive? Do you get a test drive on the horse?
no,
for a
this
while?
wasn't even a test drive. It was a drastically reduced price, from what I understand.
From the asking after
because at
after
this
the
point,
X-rays. After the X-rays.
the owner had decided, I'm not going to be able to sell this horse. I've had him for however many years. He's been in training for his whole life. I've invested huge amount of money. Am I going to continue to do that? And so from where he came from, I shot a message to a couple people that I know, because I had some questions that had come up. Is this where I'm thinking about? And yes, it was, apparently, as far as the trainer who had the horse. And, you know, she was looking at papers and all that. Well, one of the messages I got back was from another trainer that I worked for, and said, do you remember what Billy Bob? Let's call the horse Billy Bob.
Okay.
And I said, Billy Bob? Oh, yeah, sure. He was a horse, right? Remember this particular stallion that was in my training for a year and a half, 2 years, and you worked on him? Oh yeah, he was gorgeous. Why? That was this horse's dad. So it's kind of funny how things go around, but you know, it's kind of interesting when you start connecting the dots on where he came from. So apparently through a trainer, I worked on the stallion that was, you know, the father of this horse. And but anyway, she potentially got a very nice horse at a reduced price because of something that did not look 100% right. And as long as we can keep him going nicely and get his body together and get the back end under him, he could still have a really nice show career. Now, if I'm dropping the price of a truck, am I going to question that before I go invest in it? Oh, yes, I am.
Yeah,
believe me.
Sure.
But like I said, I've had horses with. There was one some years ago that was a dressage horse that had a large navicular cyst that was never retired because of the navicular issues. And I worked on that horse for a good many years. It competed. It trotted out sound. And, you know, a couple of times they had decided to try to sell the horse. Very nice bred horse. And as soon as they went to sell that, this navicular cyst, the cyst size of a number 2 pencil racer showed up every time they did it. And she said, you know what? She's been a good horse for me. I'm going to let her hang out. And, you know, she got, you know, they pulled a saddle off of her into her late 20s. She was packing the grandkids around. She never took a lame step. So some of these cases, you know, watching history on some of them, knowing I've worked on some of them, you got to wonder. And then I've had other horses that respond like they've got major navicular problems that have had clean X-rays. So in this case, I got to ask, was the horse ever symptomatic? And it seems not. But the X-rays were not as clean as they wanted. And at the price of your new truck, would you leave the truck sitting there? Probably.
I don't know. Just always seems like a lot of money to me. All right, guys, stick around. When we come back, one more little segment, and we'll wrap up the show of what we learned. So stick around. You're listening to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine. He'll be right back. Welcome back to Equine Dynamics with Mike Stine, brought to you by Equine One. Go get yours right now. Your natural hoof dressing and your natural hoof mender, 100% all natural, no petroleum products in this in any other products.
If I can hold the cans correctly.
Hold the
Is that
cans
better?
correct. Mike, you can see him over on YouTube. Go get yours right now. Go to equine.one. That's equine.one for 10% off your order, your whole entire order with the keyword podcast or Equine Dynamics. Thank you, Mike.
Right. They've got a lot more new things coming out, and you can continually use this discount.
Awesome. All right. So what did we learn today, Mike? Talking.
Terminology.
Hold on. What did we learn today, Mike? I don't know. What did we learn?
What did we learn?
Let's try that again.
What did?
Because I've been listening to the playback, and you say that every time, and I think it's so funny. So,
Okay.
All right, you ready? All right. So, what did we learn today, Mike?
What did we learn?
Talking terminology. Horse's stride. What do we mean when we're talking about the horse's stride?
We're talking about the full cycle from count 1 through 4 of all the legs moving all the way through.
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Exactly.
The cycle of full movement of all 4 legs gives you the stride. And not only does it give you the stride, but it also gives you the angle. What was the angle of
Well, we're talking about the angle of the stride. Mm-hmm. If you, like a horse at an extended trot, if you take that hind leg and that front leg at the most extended point and draw your lines up and figure out what that angle looks like.
And a bigger angle is a longer stride.
The bigger angle is the longer stride.
Not always a good thing, but it's good to have.
Well, if that's what you need your horse to have a big stride, and it's in relationship to the horse's body,
and
not necessarily always how long it measures out on the ground.
And we also discussed the relationship, speaking of horse's body, the horse's stride length as to the body size. And what do we mean by that?
Well, if you got a small horse that when they're extended out, that angle is greater than a large horse extended out, for their body size, that smaller horse will actually have the bigger stride.
And we also had a case study of a horse named Gizmo, and these are the x-rays that we can see here. We're looking at the front. Hold on, let me get the x-rays up here. Here's the front foot.
When you start looking at any horse and you start talking about problems, you got to look at the whole package and as to why. And pay attention to what's really going on.
Especially if you're using, or the horse is going to cost that amount of money or a certain threshold of we're going to spend so much money, make sure that we're doing a great investment and the horse is not going to have any problems later on.
Right.
But as far as Gizmo, with a little bit of tweaking and stuff on the foot patterns and the shoe work and stuff, he should be okay.
I'm going to say that knowing the stallion, working career with him, mm-hmm. and the fact this horse has apparently never been symptomatic, that we have a good chance of doing something based on other horses I've worked on over the years. Now, if you have things showing up in the x-rays, there's a higher chance of breakdown. Yes, sure.
All right, guys, make sure if you have a question for Mike Stine, go to equinedynamics.com. At the top of the page says contact us. Fill out that little form there and make sure you put a physical return address, and we'll send you out a free swag package for you. And also, if you'd like this podcast or Mike Stine to perform a clinic out at your location, your event, if you've got a barn with several people in there coming in and out, we can do a podcast or a clinic out at your location. At the top of the page says, that same page at equinedynamics.com says clinics. Fill out that form. Mike will pencil you in, and myself, my shining face and Mike's frowny face.
Whatever you got to work with over here.
His frowny face over there will show up at your live event, and we can do this show right there in front of all your friends and family. All right, guys, on that note, on behalf of Mike Stine over there,
have a good day. Enjoy your horses, and we'll catch you next week.
My name is Travis, saying see you next week.
I look good through fogged glass.
As we slide across the finish line.